You know whose decade the Tooth of the Naughties was? Mad!
Took that. And probably it's why so many issues have been caused.
We'll keep those for therapy. We only had one toilet in our flat and my dad would just sit in there with the Sunday papers all day.
Garfield takes novels into the loo. I'm like, you're so disgusting. You just want to sit there in your own smell.
They're not reading novels in there. We know what they're doing! And if it's real, then I don't want to know. Don't speak. This week's episode of Listen Bitch contains some very strong language and some adult themes. Oh, the people! So many people!
'Cause they are
hands in hand. Boys who make girls, who make girls, who make boys, who make boys, who do girls.
Themed.
Okay.
Blur themed. Listen, bitch.
I said maybe I don't really want to meow. I want to live like common people. I want to do whatever common people do.
Thank you. Okay, can I say those all three bands, and they're all blokes, and they're all in their late 50s now, and they're all still looking absolutely fantastic. One in particular.
What about, oh yeah,
No, they're not around anymore.
We're in trouble. Something's going on and it's burst my bubble.
Okay, Lily, you've got
yeah.
a whole episode to sing your little heart out. And I've got some...
Okay, well, you asked me to intro you. What else do you want me to do? I mean, I could do, like, reenact some, like, Sharon and Grant from EastEnders if you want, but...
That would be great. Great idea.
No, I'm not doing that.
I was thinking more like, too blind to see it, too blind to see what you were doing. Garfield played that tune the other day when he was training. I was like, this is such a tune. No man in the world. Don't wait for me, 'cause I am leaving you. Okay, I think we're ready.
'Cause my sweetness is your weakness.
And
your loving
takes me
higher. Doop, 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 doop.
The theme is the 90s. Obviously.
It's the 90s.
It's the 90s.
In case you hadn't guessed.
Maybe people sing to us. No, first question.
Hi, Miquita. Hi, Lily. This is Sian calling from the northeast of England. I'm currently sitting in my studio in Newcastle. The theme, the 90s, love this. I was born in 1982. Just wanted to say that, do you agree with that the 90s was probably the last time or the last era that had a real, true identity in everything? In fashion, in music, in like I just felt like towards the end of the 90s, going into the noughties, that's where it sort of ended. From there onwards, there wasn't much more identity. I'd just love to hear your thoughts. But love the podcast, love what you do. Keep it up. You guys are the best. Bye.
Preach.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Yes.
There was definitely a celebration of individuality, a celebration of the individual.
I mean, come on. I mean, we do have to rep for the Nautic. We had the Maccabees, Larrikin Love.
Yeah, but save that for the noughties, listen, bitch.
Okay, I will. I know it was very white, the 90s.
Right. Mm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's not what she's saying.
I don't think so. What are you saying, Lil? What do you mean?
What do I mean?
What telly?
I mean, the 90s, I guess, what is the identity? It's like Britpop, right?
Partying and freedom. Not just partying, but
we weren't partying in the 90s.
No.
Well, we were at the end, actually. 1998 I was.
Got in there.
That was when I popped my party cherry.
No, I think it's really important for us to remember, we were born 84 and 85 respectively. So 90s, we were still sort of 12, 13, 14, 15, or even 9, 10, 11. But I remember being around, surrounded in a world that was colourful and exciting and very much with a party at the back of it. It felt like the whole country was partying.
The YBAs, we had Tony Blair coming in.
Yeah, I watched this great documentary the other day about Tracy Emin. It was like an old Imagine. I've started watching old Imagines on TV. You know, the Alan Yentov series.
Imagine you're watching old Imagines, though.
Imagine I'm just there, yeah, watching old Imagines. And I realised that it's not just the Imagines I like. It's not just the documentary. I love when you watch them on YouTube, they have a little bit of like the beginning bit where it goes, now on BBC Two, it's da-da-da. And you know that it's like 1997 and suddenly it feels like you're watching TV at that time. And I was real lucky. Don't you remember Friday night, Channel 4?
Oh my God, terrestrial TV, bro. Don't even. I mean, I loved it. Except when my mum was still with my dad and we had one TV in our little flat in Bloomsbury, and on a Sunday would be Go Lazio and then Little House on the Prairie and the Waltons. Do you remember on Channel 4 on a Sunday? And my dad, we only had one toilet in my house, in our flat, and my dad would just sit in there with the Sunday papers all day, and I'd just be like, I think I even had to like maybe pee in the bath because I couldn't go in the toilet because dad was just in there using all the loo roll and just reading the papers.
We'll do men and their shitting as a whole own listen, bitch.
Now, reading the papers, probably having a wank.
Stop it. Garfield takes novels into the loo. I'm like, you're so disgusting. You just want to sit there in your own smell.
They're not reading novels in there. Please.
So what? Anyway, this is actually another subject.
We know what they're doing.
Pooing and sitting in their own smell.
Pooing and wanking.
They're not
Obviously.
wanking. No one has a wank after a poo or pre a poo.
It might, I don't know, because I'm not male, but maybe coming might trigger a poo for them.
Let's get back to the 90s. This is a problem that still exists now. Back to the 90s. Yes, of course, darling. Individualism. What do you say? Identity. I suppose. Yeah. I suppose because things weren't so kind of polarized in the same way. It was like you could kind of get on with your own individualistic shit and not feel like people were watching and you were doing the wrong thing. Not following the right crowd. So cool moves got made. Yeah. Good on you, 90s. Let's have another question. Let's really get into this era. Let's pretend it's 1993 and we're on talk radio.
It's pre-trolls, isn't it? It's pre-trolls. That's what the 90s was. Pre-trolling.
Oh, right. Yes, those trolls. Because I was like, those little old trolls were huge.
Those were 90s.
Very 90s.
Were Tamagotchis 90s?
Can I get a check on that?
Can I get a check on that, please? Were Tamagotchis the 90s thing?
I'd say 99. Let's guess. 99.
97.
Oof. 96. Rah.
Oh! It probably took them a year to trend, though, you know what I'm saying? So I was right, basically.
Yeah, I was talking. Yeah, you were talking about when they blew up. Let's have another bloody question about 1990s. The 1990s.
Hi guys, this is Flora from Broadstairs. My question to you about the 90s is, and there's so many questions about the 90s, but okay, I have two questions. Firstly, what was your favourite memorabilia from the 90s? I think mine was my brother had a inflatable chair, like an inflatable armchair in his room, and I thought it was so cool. I only got an inflatable cushion. He also had a lava lamp, which is also iconic. Like, I feel like everything was a lot cooler in the 90s. And secondly, do you think that times were happier in the 90s? Do you think people were happier? Do you think everyone was in that stage of having a party every day and, you know, a little bit stress-free? Feels like there was a lot more opportunity. I mean, I was very young at that time, but I do look back on it fondly. Anyway, tell me your favourite memorabilia and also if you think we were happier in the 90s. Bye!
There was definitely some good times were had in the 90s, but I think both my mum's like big major relationships ended in probably 1990 and again in 96 or 97.
So she was having quite a hard decade.
Little bit. She was having a little bit of a crisis, which obviously had a knock-on effect. And my favourite memorabilia, I don't know if I have like 90s memorabilia.
You had a lava lamp.
I had a lava lamp. I used to go to the gadget store in Whiteley's. Do you remember those spheres that you put your hand on and it went, the electrical ones? That was quite cool.
Yeah, and also I feel like rich people had, like Charlie Robeson's house, they always had that thing that you put your face in.
Your face in, yeah, and the hands with the nails, yeah, they were good.
We were really easily entertained in the night.
Yes, and what about a Newton's cradle? Do you remember those? Those tick.
You know what I found out? You're not even ready for this. Our beautiful friend Jesse, his dad, Richard Loncraine, is a big British film director, which is impressive enough because he made my favourite film in the world, Wimbledon. But he actually was,
Don't say he invented those things.
yes, he started all those work inventions, those toys that were about sort of Buddhism and, you know, like, I don't know what like the array of them's called, but he put out a book about all the gadgets he's made and all of those were in it. And I was like, why is this here? And Jesse was like, my dad invented all of those. Can you believe that?
I actually can't believe that. I don't believe it.
It's absolutely true.
I don't believe it.
I will get confirmation from Jesse that his dad invented all of those things.
His
but
dad 100% did not invent
Google it.
Newton's cradle.
Google it. Google it.
The clue is in the fucking name.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is he brought all those gadgets and kind of remodeled them and made them these like businessmen toys that like brought them into the workplace and
He
remodeled
licensed them.
No, because he also redesigned some of them, I think.
Hang on. The device is named after 17th century English scientist Sir
Isaac Newton, obviously.
Isaac Newton, and was designed by French scientist Edme Mariotte.
Okay.
So unless Jesse's dad was previously a French woman, then that is a lie.
Okay, let me just double check this because this is what he said. I was blown away.
You're blown away by his lies.
Jesse, can you please tell me, you said that your dad invented all those gadgets that came into the workplace that were based on like Isaac Newton's mind and theories, right? Tell me, give me the story.
He's going to be so pissed off with you.
Give me the real story.
You've called him out as being a liar.
He's not a liar, we'll see. We'll get that from Jesse. It felt like people had to be a bit more inventive, I suppose. We weren't relying on tech in the same way. It wasn't something that you could rely on in the same way. And I think people maybe were a bit more inventive. Memorabilia, though, I used to always have, I think everything was covered in like purple fur at one point, and I got like a diary set from Portobello, and it was like the pen had purple fur on it. The diary was like fluffy purple fur, and then I had another thing with purple fucking fur. I don't know, maybe it was like a Spice Girls thing. There was also a lot of like poverty and disparity and struggle in the 90s.
Yeah, but you know what was good in the 90s? Football.
Yes. When I watched the Beckham documentary, I was like, God, I love 1996. Like, it was like so uniting and things were great. Like Manchester United were having like this fucking incredible treble moment. And yeah, it was exciting.
When was it? Italia was the World Cup in Italy was 1990, I think.
I think we're going to be doing quite a lot of checking up on years in this.
World Cup. Yeah, held in Italy. Yeah, so that was when my dad did the he left my mum and us.
He'd left the family
and went off with John Barnes and New Order to go and make a fucking banging football song. I'll give it to him.
It's a fucking tune. How does it go?
We're singing for England, England. We're singing this song. We're singing for England, England. Arrivederci, it's 1-on-1.
Wow, incredible work, Keith. Mind blown.
You got to give it to him.
No, for sure. And I was just about to say, you know who did have a good decade? Your dad. He had a great 90s.
He did. It was his best decade, I'd go as far to say.
It was his best years. Oh, God.
Because you know whose decade the tooth of the noughties was? Man!
Took that. And probably it's why so many issues have been caused.
No, let's not go there.
Let's not. Let's save those issues. Let's keep those in the 90s.
We'll keep those for therapy.
One for therapy, one for the 90s. Let's have another question, for God's sake.
Was the 90s the best era for music? I'll tell you in advance. Yes!
Yes! Finally. Great. Cool. Yeah. With you. Thank God someone finally talks about music. I think I've touched upon my love of grunge.
Someone finally, we opened with music and we've touched on it in pretty much every single question
But
since.
have I talked really properly about grunge music and what I loved and who I loved? It took over my life after a very special summer. I think everyone at about 11...
Song was in the 90s. Did you know that?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everything is Everything by Lauryn Hill. Bugaboo by Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
The Cranberries were the 90s.
Yeah.
The Verve.
Listen, I've got to get this out, okay? My love of grunge.
Hey, yeah,
music.
talk about your grunge thing.
I had a summer that changed my life, like so many people did in the 90s. And when I was 12, I went and had summer in Spain with my cousin Naima and a load of kids. And two of them were her friends from New York, Willie and Cheyenne. So I thought they were the coolest. And they proceeded, they loved grunge. And I was like, right, well, that's me then. That's a done deal. I am grunge. I live grunge.
This is when I got sidelined.
And when I say grunge, we're talking about like Nirvana, of course, but like Pearl Jam, of course, my beloved Silverchair. I listened to Frog Stomp the other day. Lily, I could still sit and listen to Frog Stomp. And
You're literally speaking another language. I don't know what Frog Stomp is.
I need to call Dan. Dan knows.
I was literally listening to Frog Stomp. I bet you were. Okay.
We didn't align on the grunge years. We didn't really align, actually.
No, we didn't. We came together for the drum and bass years. That's what happened.
That's it. So then Phoebe and Lily were like, well, we're also listening to drum and bass now. And I was like, it was like an issue. Before that, in the 90s, I was a huge Hanson fan, like beyond belief.
Oh, yeah.
Embarrassing. But I lived for them. I didn't give a shit. And then I remember we started going to squat parties and I was like, I'm going to have to give up Hanson because no one from squat parties can know that I like Hanson. This was like an issue for me. I was worried.
You're such a dick.
I know, such a douche. Anyway, I started going on a grunge patrol the other day and it took me to No Doubt, Don't Speak. And I was like...
Oh, I was listening to that the other day. That is such a big tune, you know.
Isn't it?
You and me.
Should we do it? Let's not do it because people will be sick of us singing. But I implore you to go listen to it. Doom, doom,
the words
doom,
are fucking
doom.
brilliant.
You and me. So like it just starts and everyone's ready. I was like, oh, Gwen Stefani was such a fucking G.
I really feel like I'm losing my best friend.
I mean, it looks as though you're letting go. I mean,
if it's real, then I don't want to know. Don't speak.
I mean, it's so, if you haven't heard this song, I implore you to go listen to it. No Doubt were good at one point. So yeah, music was great, but everything's better when you're in your formative years and everything feels new and exciting. I think I was just very excited about becoming a teenager finally because we were really wanting to be teenagers. Like we were frustrated 10 and 11 and 12. We were just like, this sucks. Let's get on with our life. So that's why we were at scout parties at 12.
It's what my kids are like now. I went to rehearsals this morning and I got, because basically we had a problem with our door and we had to get the locks changed. And then, so we've only got like 3 keys. And the girls don't have a set of keys. And I got a call like at 10:03 when I started my first day in rehearsals. She was like, I'm just going to leave the house unlocked. I was like, no, Ethel, you can't leave the flat unlocked. Like that doesn't happen. Like that's very, very irresponsible. We will get burgled.
Dangerous, yeah.
She was like, I've made plans. I was like, with who? You live in New York. You don't know anyone here. Nanny Allie's at work. Like,
who is she referring to?
You have not made plans. She was going to Westfield to get some socks.
Okay.
So
listen, I was part of that key shit when I was staying at your house. I can't believe you haven't sorted it out yet. That fucking key. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
I'm waiting on the fucking council to give me another door.
Okay, well, this isn't very 90s.
Sorry.
We should take a little break from the 90s and just step back into 2025 just for a second and just remember how much we want to go back to the 90s.
Well, as always, you can listen to every single episode we have ever recorded of Miss Me or Listen Bitch on BBC Sounds.
Yes, last week we talked about politics, and even more bloody politics. And Glastonbury.
Hello, Miss Me fans. My name's Vic Hope, and I'm coming to you from another BBC Sounds podcast, also hosted by 2 best mates, the Tooney and Russo Show. Each week, me and Lionesses Alessia Russo and Ella Toon come together to discuss everything from life off the pitch, what makes their friendship tick, and all the goss ahead of a very busy summer at the Women's Euros. Nothing is off the table. So come and have a watch and a listen on the BBC Sounds app and on YouTube.
Welcome back to a place where love lives, where love lives. The theme is the 90s on today's Listen Pitch, the 90s.
Let's have another question, please.
Hi Lily and Miquita, it's Leanne here from Linlithgow in Scotland. I have a question about the 90s. I was born in 1981. I love the 90s. I'm pretty much still stuck there. My fashion sense is pretty 90s. My question is around Cool Britannia. You know, the era that it was, Tony Blair, New Labour, Noel Gallagher and Downing Street, Britpop, Kate Moss, you know, all these cool young people. I want to know what you both thought of the deemed Cool Britannia movement. Was it just a tabloid construction, or did you think it was really cool and kind of inspired pride in Britain, like it was apparently intended to? Yeah, I just wanted to know what you both thought of Cool Britannia. Did you feel like you were in that scene? Love to know. Thanks.
Well, we were too young for that scene, but we were getting to the age where we were starting to be aware of, you know, the culture of the city that we lived in and the country that we lived in. I have to say, Cool Britannia was exciting. I think it was based on a deep feeling we all love called hope. And suddenly there was hope and unity. And yeah, Tony Blair was like,
the man,
inviting rock stars around to his house for tea. It felt like politics, sport, and music and art were all talking to each other. And this is very much what the Tracy Emin documentary was saying when it was talking about the 90s. It was just everyone was maybe out at the same time with the same intent all at once. And that is a very powerful feeling, I think. And I don't know whether that's an achievable thing now.
I wonder if that's when it actually became, because they did politically band all of those things together as a department. It was like the department for media, sport,
right,
television, like it all came under one thing.
Right. And so the intent was to unify the country through these things.
I don't think it's a good thing for one department to have so much control over all of those things.
That's what I'm saying. No, actually, that's not what I'm saying. I feel like
you think that it's one person should run all of those things. I don't think so.
No, but I like the idea of all those places talking to each other at once and sort of responding to each other for the greater good.
Yeah, that's like a functioning government. That would be fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean, a functioning government.
Anyway, I think it's too much power for one department to wield, is my point. Miquita says yes, I'm saying no.
There's a yes from me and no from Lil. God, I'm so fucking gullible.
I think we were a bit of both. We were into Cool Britannia and also sometimes not.
Yeah, we were somewhere in the middle.
we were riding a wave between Cool Britannia and uncool Britannia.
But I felt like I'd missed a lot of what was going on in the country because of squat parties. And when you go to parties like that and you're taking so many... No, but seriously, you sort of leave the country for a bit and you're in this other nighttime weekend world. And I remember when I stopped going, I was suddenly like, oh, who's in power? Who's the Prime Minister? Who are Manchester United? Like suddenly it was like I was back in the room. And I think it was around the time of all that stuff.
Back from your out-of-body experience.
One really long K-hole. So the 3-year K-hole. I gave up Hanson. I went straight into a 3-year K-hole. Yeah, next question. That's right. Next question.
Hi, Lily and Miquita. It's Emily from Bath here. I love this week's theme of the 90s. My question is, I want to know, what were you both watching in the 90s? So I'm a bit younger than you both. I'm 36. So I was watching cartoons like Ren and Stimpy, Animals of Farthingwood, probably the saddest cartoon in the world. And the 90s brought us amazing films, American Beauty, Empire Records, The Craft. So yeah, what films and series were you both watching in the 90s? I'd love to know. Thanks. Bye.
Great question.
Party of Five.
Big time. After school, Party of Five.
Ally McBeal.
And also, did you watch My So-Called Life?
Yeah, obs.
Which I did rewatch recently.
Also Home and Away and Neighbours I was watching.
No, but they're depressing.
Yeah, but I still watch them.
Yeah, definitely. Toadfish.
Toadie. Heartbreak High.
I didn't like Heartbreak High.
Dresik. You didn't watch Dresik in Heartbreak High?
No.
Oh my God.
I don't know why. There wasn't enough glamour in Heartbreak High for me.
I thought Heartbreak High was way more glamorous than... Actually, Home and Away was low-key glamorous.
No, Neighbours was the glamorous one. Home and Away was like the loser cousin.
Sorry. Ever since I've been hanging out with Alex Consani, I can't stop saying low-key.
I quite like low-key. Low-key glamorous.
What else were we watching? Taggart, Cracker.
Taggart I watched with my nan. My nan loved a detective drama. But this Friday night TV thing on Channel 4 was like culture making. We're talking, it would start with TFI Friday at 6 and then you'd have...
The Big Breakfast, come on.
Yeah, Big Breakfast, that was in the mornings. But Friday nights you'd have that. What would you have? TFI Friday, huge vibes, like pub on TV. And then you'd have Friends.
Eurovision.
No, not yet. It wasn't Eurovision, babe. It was Eurotrash.
Eurotrash.
Which had to be on a bit later.
Sorry.
But you'd have Friends at 9 o'clock. And Friends was new and like exciting and funny. And then you'd have Eurotrash, which I actually can't believe was on terrestrial TV because it's just porn, straight up. And then my mum did the black version called Badass TV, but that's for another episode. And then after Eurotrash, I think that's when we'd probably
go to bed.
Try and look for drugs.
You and me were in a different place.
Look for Garfield's weed at that point.
What else? Have a Silent Witness.
Silent Witness. And there's also fantastic dramas on that you would like discover because it wasn't like kids TV and adult TV in the same way.
Like Brideshead Revisited.
Absolutely. But also This Life. How great was this? This Life changed things.
Was Queer Eye for a Straight Guy 90s or was that 90s?
No, not Queer Eye for a Straight Guy. You mean Queer as Folk.
Queer as Folk. Oh my God, I'm getting all my references all mixed up today. I must be getting old.
No, but talking about the 90s is making me feel like this was all fucking ages ago. But This Life was about 5 lawyers in their 20s. They seemed like such grown-ups. And they all shared a house in like Southwark, I think. Oh no, maybe that's where I know a lot about the law from This Life, but it was so well written and the characters like Egg and Anna and Miles. God, he was fit. And I remember I discovered that because Phoebe had a TV in her bedroom and Phoebe would always find the kind of late night, not even late night, but 9 o'clock BBC Two dramas and would show me them. And I'd be like, this is so fun. And because you were young and not meant to be watching them, they were even more exciting.
And because you didn't have a phone to distract you. Anyway, can we have another question, please?
Yes, let's.
Hi, I'm from Birmingham. I'm Usman. What piece of kind of technology that you're using today would you replace with a kind of counterpart from the 90s? So let's say like Spotify, would you buy a Walkman from the 90s? Or what piece of technology that you use today, like every day, would you replace with something from the 90s?
I love that. Thanks, guys.
I would replace my mobile phone with a BT charge card.
What does that get you?
You can go to the phone box and type in your number on your charge card and make a call.
Oh, I never took my reverse charges call all the way to a charge card. That's so much more organised. A charge card of one's own.
Would you have a pager? I'd have a pager.
Oh my God, I loved my pager. Pagers were nuts. I had a purple one. It was from this brand that did them.
Motorola?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they did pretty much all of them.
I think it was Motorola. And I was like, no, but the pager was called something. I can't remember. But anyway, it was like you had to call an office and say like, can you send a message to this person's pager and say, hi, I'm back now, or I'll meet you at 5. And we thought it was like,
at Westbourne Park Station, got no money. Come get me.
That was very much a pager message. I would have got a shell of abuse. And I thought it was like technology to the end. I thought it was so high tech. I'd give up streaming music for just a classic old album sleeve. The artwork and the lyrics. Used to love those.
Would you change Google Maps for an A to Z?
Possibly, because I love a map, like a real map. I'm going to have loads of old maps in my new flat.
You would look fucking weird if you were just like bowling around London with an A to Z. Now.
But can you imagine how much more people had to learn their city, like an A to Z?
Yes, but also do you remember how much people would argue in a car and you'd be like, it's, G6. It's in that box. It says it's in that box.
Oh my God.
I can't see it, Mum. I can't see it.
Yeah, that's where a lot of my mum and I's fights have been. But my mum learnt to drive in the noughties, so that was more noughties. But the thing is, this guy came over today to Mum's house and he said, Sat-Nav saved my marriage. So maybe Sat-Nav did save the A to Z quarrels of yesteryear. Who knows? Another day, another map chat. We'll get back to that.
Okay, penultimate question, please.
Hello, Miquita and Lily. This is Kim here from Chesington. I work in cruise, doing their legal stuff and customer service. The 90s! Oh, I've been waiting my whole life for you guys to talk about the 90s. I am the same age as you guys, and both of my daughters, who are actually the same age as yours, Lily, they're 12 and 13, have got really, really into the 90s. My daughter has just got a Juicy Couture bag. My question is, why do you think we've gone full circle and the kids have suddenly grabbed onto the 90s vibe? Because not every era has come back, but why the 90s? What is it about Juicy Couture? What is it about leopard print? Why have they started getting the Playboy Bunny perfume again? What appeals to the youth of today about the 90s? Love you guys so much. Speak soon.
Firstly, leopard print has never gone away.
Not for you.
Not from me. That is something that I will die in leopard print. Mark my words.
Is leopard print 90s? I guess it is, huh?
No, I would say it's 80s, actually.
Yeah.
But also, I do think that every era has a sort of resurgence, doesn't it? Like, I feel like we definitely went through dressing in a 70s phase, like with our flares and our little, like, you know, multicolored tops.
We wore bells in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you could say that, like, you know, new rave in the noughties, that was like, the fashion was referencing 80s, for sure.
I think it's basically every 20 years, isn't it? It's like what happened 20 years before. So their 90s is now 30 years ago, though, isn't it?
Don't even start.
Okay.
Don't even start.
But like end of 90s was about 20 years ago. I think once something's been gone for 20 years, it's time for it to come back in a kind of new way.
Yeah, probably because your parents still have some of that stuff knocking around in their wardrobes, that's why.
But what was the one thing she said? What was her example? She said leather print. What was the other thing? Juicy Couture.
Juicy Couture also never went away.
Well, I think it did. I actually found these like Juicy Couture bags in TK Maxx with Naomi yesterday in Hackney. I nearly bought them. They were so fly. But I was like, if you remember what Juicy Couture was about. But I suppose I wasn't getting the tracksuit.
Probably also the reason that people are into the 90s is because it's the last time that it looked like anyone was having fun.
Yeah. We're so lucky that we got some of it, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Let's have the bloody final question.
Can we have the last and final question for the 90s, please?
Hello, Lily and Miquita. My name is Sophie. I'm originally from Peterborough, but I live in Perth in Western Australia. Just want to say how much I am loving Miss Me. I was a bit of a late starter to the pod, so I'm still working my way through the back catalogue. I started in April when I was packing up to move house, and it got me through that very stressful couple of weeks. Anyway, even though I haven't quite caught up yet, I saw on your Insta that you were looking for questions about the 90s. I was born in 97, but I firmly believe that I was born way too late. I love everything 90s. I'm a massive Britpop fan. I remember going to the cinema to watch the Oasis Nebworth documentary and coming out just feeling a bit depressed. Because even though there's no way that I could have experienced it, I just constantly feel like I missed out. Have you ever experienced that feeling of being born in the wrong generation? And if so, when would you have rather have been born? Love you both. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, you did miss out. Because I feel like we missed out as well. I would have preferred to, like, I wouldn't love to be older now, but I would have liked to have been born when we were old enough to rave in the late 80s, early 90s, like 93 raving.
Yeah, I would have liked to have been at the WAG Club and the Met Bar, low-key, to be honest. Yeah, we would have killed the Met Bar.
We would have been like, yeah, hello, this is definitely our vibe.
Boris Becker in the
How do you describe the Met Bar?
Didn't Boris Becker get someone pregnant in the broom cupboard at the Met Bar?
That was Nobu upstairs, and we did kill that place. We did our time there, but that was the noughties.
But the Met Bar and Nobu were the same place.
Yeah, I guess the Met Bar was the bar underneath Nobu. No, because it wasn't little. You had to come out and go left, didn't you? It was like another block.
Yeah, but that's where like all Oasis and Fran Cutler and Kate Moss and All Saints and Robbie Williams and they all hung out.
Yes, to go back to an earlier question of like...
we should have been there.
I know. To go back to an earlier question of how did you feel about Cool Britannia, I suppose that was a part of it as well. And I really felt a bit like we should be partying with them. I don't know why we're not at that, even though we were like 12. And I think maybe because our parents were adjacent to that partying, and sometimes at those parties, that I was a bit like, we should be there. So we made sure we were bloody there as soon as we possibly could. But not the Met Park, so it closed down.
You know what else is closing down? This episode.
Oh, very good. I'm a bit worried about my Listen Bitch theme, but I just don't give a shit what any of you think and we're doing it.
Oh no, the stress after such a good one. What are you going to do to us?
I think it's important. I won't even go into why. I just want to do it. We're doing it, so that's the end of it. The theme for next week's Listen Bitch in this hot, sweaty, salty summer is contraception.
Oh my God, I was literally just about to say fertility. I thought that's what you were going to say. Lol.
Good, stick that on the list because we need to do fertility. Contraception is such a great one. I've used so many different kinds. I've realised I've used so many different kinds.
I have not. I've only used one.
Right, well, I'll be the authority on this.
I'll tell you all about it next week.
And also, I've talked to some people recently who are literally still practicing the pulling out method, and I'd like to know if that's actually a vibe for millions of people, because I can't see that as a...
I definitely think the BBC are going to have an issue with that particular method.
Yes, well, we'll see.
More to come next week.
Please get in touch. Yes.
On
08000 30 40 90, 08000 30 40 90. Let us be your public service people. Let's talk about contraception all together now.
But let's be clear that we will not be doing any educating because we are not doctors.
I'm not doctors, but I have used a hell of a lot of different kinds of contraception, so I've at least trodden the board somewhat.
Okay, well done you.
Must be safe. Better to be safe than sorry. We're going to go now because we're just about to get out of this Edpol free. So we'll see you later. Lil, I'll see you later.
I'll see you later.
See you later.
Bye.